Wow. Okay, so my name is Danny. I work for my family's wholesale floral business. And my question is, after 35 years, my dad has worked very hard to get the company to where it is, but everything's kind of close to his chest. So now we want to hire a salesman, and it's getting very difficult to get him to give up some of the control he has so that we can have information available for salesmen to sell.
Mm-hmm. How old are you?
I am 28.
How old is he?
57.
And he started this 30 years ago?
So his uncle started the business, and he worked for his uncle for many years. And the business as it exists now, he opened in 2012.
Okay. Wholesale. So you're selling to florists?
I sell to florists. Our biggest line of business is grocery store bouquets.
Okay. So you're selling to grocery stores. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's the majority. We do a lot of different things. We do everything.
Okay. And how many people work there?
We have about 15 employees right now.
Okay. And your dad's obviously the president, CEO, founder, whatever. And your position is what?
You're putting a title on it. I'm probably our warehouse manager. I oversee our warehouse and deliveries and fill in wherever I'm needed. It's a small family
Who's
business,
doing sales now?
That is the problem. No one.
How have they been making sales? Your dad made them?
Existing customers.
Well, where'd you get an existing customer? You hadn't had the same customer for 30 years.
Some of his customers he has.
I know, but not all of them. How do you get a new customer?
The only new customers we've attracted in the last few years have been word of mouth. So
they came to you?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And what's your total revenue?
Last year, I believe we did about $3.8 million in revenue.
Okay. 15 team members. Okay. So what information does your dad need to give up in order to hire a salesman? I'm not sure why a salesman...
Okay, so the biggest issue comes down to floral. It's all market value. Everything changes week to week. And he orders over the phone with salesmen. And, I can't price something out to go pitch it to a store because the information's in his head. And I can't get it in order to come up with
you're not doing sales. No one's doing sales.
Yes, and but my thing is, if I want to be able to do sales, I need to have a database so I can sit there and price things out.
Okay, so these stores place an order and have no idea what they're paying for it, or he's just establishing this week this bouquet cost me however many dollars, and it's different than last week, and he changes the prices to his customers every week based on what he pays.
Yeah, like our sales, just for example, if we have a $16.99 bouquet, he'll base the recipe for that bouquet off of the market price of stems to fit into the $16.99 retail. So the bouquet is the same price, but how it looks might change from really month to month depending on the market.
Yeah, okay. And everybody accepts that.
Yes.
So why do you need a change? Because they're paying the same for it. Only thing that's changing is the flowers.
The biggest issue is now the next level of expansion is selling to the flower shops. And that's where I really need a salesman's help. But if I go to sell, right now, if I walked in somewhere and said, hey, I'd like to sell you a box of daisies, and they said, okay, how much? I'd have to say, I don't know, let me call my dad. I have no way of finding out. And then when I call him, he doesn't have it written anywhere. He's got I don't really know how he comes up with pricing when we do sell to flower shops.
Okay, but he's buying a box of daisies from the daisy farmer, and he's paying for that. Who's paying the bill?
That's my brother, an accountant. One of my brothers does all of our accounting work. But it doesn't, so far as I know, because this is where it's a different side of the business for me. when his invoices come in, most of it's not itemized, and we're getting them normally 2 weeks after we've received it. So now that price is already outdated.
Yeah, but how does your brother know what he promised the Daisy farmer? What your dad promised, because it's in his head. There's no purchase order system, obviously.
No, and that so okay. I guess that really is my question. Is my dad's very set in his ways. My brothers and I, we want to create a system so we can log orders as they're happening with the price that we agreed to pay, because he's agreeing to pay over the phone when he orders, but not sharing it. So I'm trying to convince him to work with us to share the information into a computer system. This way we can hire a salesman to do the work, and we'll be able to offer customers pricing on the spot, not, whenever my dad has time to find it.
Yeah. So when you ask him to do that, what does he say?
He gets kind of his explanation is that it just wouldn't work. He doesn't have a detailed answer that he's given me. He says it doesn't work, but there's other competitors on the island that it's working for them.
Oh, good business. That's absolute bullcrap. Good business practices work, and what he's doing sucks. It's a horrible system. It's a horrible system. Of course, it'll work.
Yeah,
that's asinine. But the point is that not that at all. But the point is, what's he protect? It's a control thing, isn't it?
I think so. He has admitted to me, like, part of his rationale is like he doesn't trust someone else enough to represent his business for him to go do sales. So that's another issue.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so we don't want to. So he doesn't want to expand. So he's planning to die. Because you're either growing or you're dying, dude.
I've used that exact phrase with him. He says he wants to do the sales and he wants to go do them himself. The other problem is he wants to step back from the business now. And between me and my brothers, we're able to run things just fine. But if we want to expand so that there's a future for us at the company, we need him to...
If he steps back, does it not get him out of the way?
No, because the biggest problem is that he's not recording the price that he pays for orders. So
but if he steps back, he quits doing the ordering, doesn't he?
That's the one area that he has not let go of yet. Like, he won't let go of that part of the business. I had a very hard time coming up with what question I was going to ask, because it's.
No, I'm just trying to weed around in this, and that's funny, and figure out what's going on. But
me too.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. When you're dealing with someone with founder syndrome, which I have and your dad has, we're hardheads. We're the people that gutted it out and made it while you were still in your short pants.
Absolutely.
And so you're dealing with that. And the best way to approach it is not a baseball bat. It doesn't work, because founders have seen a baseball bat before and will turn it and use it on you. So that's not the plan. Instead, let's try honor. Dad, I want to honor you and your brother, the accountant, Steve, whatever his name is. We want to honor you. You've worked so hard here. You've done things in freaking New York that no one else has been able to do. You built a business that has survived and has repeat customers that are happy. We have a great reputation, and it's all because of you. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to disappoint the work that you have done. We want to make sure that it runs better. And all we're trying to do is to make it better. We're not trying to steal something. You're the dog. You're the goat. You're the one that did this. And let's try honor and then say, we really want to try something new. Would you please let us try it for 90 days? But the reason we want to try it is not to steal something from you, but instead we want to make sure that we honor you by this business flourishing and growing that you've spent your life on. We don't want to see this thing struggle. And we're scared if we don't put some systems in place that we're not going to be able to grow at least a little bit. And we're dependent upon everything being between your two ears. And if your two ears aren't here, we're screwed. So, Dad, you're the GOAT, and you got to help us. You got to help us with this transition, because someday you're not going to be here, and we've got to have a system that replaces the awesome thing that you have done. And so help us make that transition to that system so that we can do that. And something approaching it like that, that's your only shot. And even then, you just got to know it's hard for him to let go.
Yeah,
it's just emotional. Sorry. And as I have backed out of different things around Ramsey and done less and less, it's just emotional. It's part of it. But it's also necessary for me to do that. It's necessary for him to do it, to allow good ideas to come in that he didn't have, and to allow growth, and to allow the next generation to carry something to honor your legacy. Because otherwise you're killing your own thing. You're killing your own kids. You're killing your own business when you don't let stuff go. And that's founder syndrome is what that is. We hold on so tightly that we kill the very things that we love, the business and the family. And so,
can I ask you?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned that you had to do it. It's an emotional process. So what in your head did you have to let go of to be comfortable doing, to be comfortable letting go of?
Well, here's the thing.
Business?
When you plan your succession, you are planning to become less important. If your plan works, you're screwed because you're less important.
Yes, that's a great problem.
So I planned for this place to not be dependent upon me, and dadgum, it didn't work, and that's emotional. So the higher version of your dad, the higher version of Dave, the better version, wants to be a blessing to the business and to his kids. The lower version is still a 4-year-old boy that wants to be recognized for being the GOAT.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I have to say that to myself out loud sometimes. So we changed the show, the Ramsey Show, from the Dave Ramsey Show to the Ramsey Show, so that it wasn't necessary for me to be on it.
Yes.
That was emotional for me. You know who else cared? No one. And that was upsetting. We didn't even announce it. We just started doing it, and no one commented. Not the employees, not the audience. Nobody noticed but me. And that's okay. I'm making fun of myself. But that's that's how that works, right? And so, but you've got to do that in your higher version of you to protect the things that you love, which is the business you spent your life on, and on your family, which you love. You want your sons to prosper, honey. It's me talking to your dad, right? You want them to prosper, and you want them to do good. And they're not total doofuses. You trained them. If they're doofuses, it's your fault. You trained them. And so, you got to learn to trust in that stuff. But what he's dealing with is just the emotion of becoming less important. You are dependent, the whole operation is dependent upon him pulling these numbers out of his head.
And
if you take that away from him, he's not important anymore.
Well, yes. He does a good job, but I'm noticing, a few years ago we were only doing 2.5-3 million in revenue. And the larger we've gotten, the harder it is on him. Yeah. But he still wants to do it.
I know, but that's my point. It's dependent upon him, and he's facing his own mortality when he says that's not dependent on me anymore. But you got to have some discussions about founder syndrome with him directly, and just go, Dad, listen, we don't want to do anything except honor you. But if you don't turn these things loose, you're gonna sow the seeds of destruction in this place.
Okay.
Because
I think you got my real question. That's my real question here.
Yeah, and I don't know it. I'm trying to give you a grasp of how emotional this is for him, but it's also not to excuse him.
Yeah. No, I didn't even think about, does he feel like we're kicking him out? I didn't even think that way. No. So
it's kind of like if your parents haven't done a will and you sit down and try to get them to do a will, they go, "Oh, you just want my money."
Oh, I'm working on that next. But.
There you go. And and it's like, you don't want their money. I want a plan is what I want. I want a freaking plan. I don't want to spend my time in probate court because you won't write down who's supposed to get the freaking baseball card collection. Oh my God, get a will. And so
I just don't want the government to get half.
Exactly. And I don't want the government to tell me what to do either. They already do too much. And so get a will. But it's the exact same emotion. Some parents go, oh, I don't want to talk about it because you're just coming over here trying to get stuff, and I'm not dead yet. And it's like, oh, brother. No, but you're going to be. And at that point, I'm screwed because you can't write down a plan. And that's the same, but it's the same set of stuff in your brain. It's your lizard brain trying to protect your importance. And they don't really think the kids are trying to get their money. You don't really think that. But they say that out loud because they are used to being in control, and doing a will is admitting that someday I'm going to die. Which, by the way, we've done research. You're going to die. So you need a will. And got to get ready. And so that's the same thing of turning over pieces of the business and gradually and so forth. And, what I would maybe say is, Dad, you've got all these relationships with these vendors, these farmers. I want you to keep those relationships. Those are super valuable. All we're asking is that I'm going to put somebody right beside you, and every time you get a number in your head, you're going to give it to George, and George is going to write it down and put it in the system. I don't even want you putting stuff in the system. You're too valuable on the relationship side. But carrying all this around and you being the only computer that runs the business is going to kill us when you die. We're going to be out of business because we don't know your numbers. And that's not okay. And you're going to die someday, and so am I. So is everybody else here. And so we've got to have a plan. Got to have some bench depth. And, I don't know if all that'll work. If it doesn't work, then, you just got to face it and decide what your options are. Do you work somewhere else, or do you, ride this horse until it falls over and see if we can revive it? I don't know. There's a thing, but it's very emotional. And we deal with it with small businesses all over America that are family-owned, that the founder syndrome is very real. It is the most difficult of all the transitions, Gen 1 to Gen 2. Gen 2 is much more business-like to Gen 3, much more business-like to Gen 4, but Gen 1 to Gen 2 is emotional because it's got founder syndrome in it.